South Florida. Usually when this happens, we see down power lines all over town.
Well, certainly,
Tony, Jennifer?
Thanks, Ari. Certainly, there have been a number of power surges this afternoon, but so far as we know, there are no reports of complete power outages. And actually, as far as we know at this point in time, we haven't heard any reports of very serious injuries, although clearly some minor injuries out there. We're hopeful that continues to hold true.
As serious as some of the damage as we have seen, it could have been a lot worse considering what we went through this afternoon.
Well, it's such an odd thing to see a tornado of this kind of magnitude in a downtown area, in a heavily populated area. They usually tend to occur further out west or in areas that are more wide open and sparsely populated. David Damien is in our storm center now. Am I correct, David? This is a very rare occurrence.
Well, you generally don't see this. You're right, Jennifer. Tornadoes, I guess for whatever reason, really tend to avoid large objects as buildings. It seems like there's something about the structure may interfere with the formation of the tornado itself, but this tornado was unusual. It stayed on the ground for a long time. And I witnessed it, and I saw it as it actually formed, and it did skip around a little bit, but something I wanted to point out that Ari may have touched on, we're not out of the danger right now. We are still under a general tornado watch until 5 o'clock this afternoon, and conditions are very ripe for the formation of further storms because the sun is out. We're still very unstable, and we are now seeing the redevelopment of thunderstorms, especially in Broward County, where a tornado warning does exist for you folks up in northwestern Broward County. And that same line of thunderstorms may extend down into Dade County now. We may see some more redeveloping storms later on this afternoon. Let's go back in time and show you what we saw right here in our backyard, so to speak. This tornado moved fairly rapidly, but it was on the ground once again for a long time. Then it eventually moved over Biscayne Bay. And at that point, what you're seeing right now is the water spout stage of the tornado, as it was actually over the water. But while it was over land, it caused significant damage. Now, we weren't talking about any kind of super tornado. Not indeed, but certainly winds at least 100 miles an hour with some of the damage reports. A lot of roofs off, a lot of car damage, a lot of large trees down, and so this would pretty much confirm the type of damage you would expect in maybe an F1 tornado. They rate these things on a scale of F0, the weakest, to F5, the super magnitude tornadoes you see out in the plain states. And once again, this is pretty typical of a South Florida tornado, unusual in the respect that it did hit in downtown, and certainly unusual in the respect that it stayed on the ground for a long time. Tony and Jennifer, back to you.
David, is that how we rank the speed of a tornado, basically by the damage that's been done? Is there any other way to calculate from the video?
Exactly. There's no real way to measure the wind speed of a tornado in the center of a tornado. They're trying. If you saw the movie Twister, that's the whole object of that movie, was to get that portable tornado observatory in the center of the storm. But what they do is inspectors from the Weather Service will now come out. Their job is to examine the damage, examine all the damage that we've seen, and pretty much get a feel for how intense the storm was based on wind damage, structural damage, certainly. The tornado lifted a Metro rail car off its tracks. That's substantial. And we see a lot of car damage. Some cars were actually moved around. So I would say in excess of 100 miles an hour easily. Tony and Jim?
David, like a hurricane, does a tornado create its own energy? And as the longer it's down, the more energy it becomes?
Not really, Tony. This tornado was affected certainly by some of the taller buildings in downtown. And then once it actually hit the open waters, it slowed up and it stayed out over Biscayne a long time. That's a good point, though, because tornadoes are actually basically as strong as the parent thunderstorm is, and these storms are certainly pretty strong. They're moving off rapidly, so in essence, that's good news because at least they're moving away rapidly, but the bad news is it would appear that they're redeveloping, so we could see another outbreak later on this afternoon, and that is the case up in Broward.
All right, David.
Well, Jerry Helfman is out at a location where, as we saw, a roof was blown off, and we understand that that roof actually ended up on a car.
Right. We saw Orlando Mora, Jerry, that you spoke with. He was in unit number 32. You were at Southwest 3rd Street and 8th Avenue. We saw what he went through. The roof fell on him. Now you're with someone the roof fell on their car?
Well, some of the personal stories we're hearing are really horrible, Tony. And, you know, insurance adjusters are already on the scene out here. And what we're hearing from a lot of people as to their personal belongings and their cars is that all these people only have PIP. So the car, like the one you're looking at right here, and the woman who's standing here next to her car, she had just apparently come from the hospital, come home to discover this car right here. And again, she has only PIP insurance. Now, Mo, if you just pan over here, we see this gentleman up here who I met before, Rudolfo Polo, pulling the roof from 860 Southwest 3rd Street off of the top of his car. Rudolfo, could I trouble you to step down for a second? Rudolfo, you were at your mother's apartment right up here. I see your mom. She's up there. Your wife was on her way downstairs with your daughter. When you saw this happening, tell me the rest.
Yes, in one moment, everything passed. So I came down when the air was hard. I saw the roof coming out, and I came down to rescue. I nervous a little bit. I came to rescue my wife and my little daughter. She got hurt right there.
Your wife is standing here. I see she just got like a little bit of a bloody knee.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain, because it was in a second. It was terrible. I don't know how can I say.
But your two little girls, I see one of the little girls up on the patio actually sweeping up some of the debris. Your little girls are lucky they weren't hurt.
Thank God. She and my little daughter, they got lucky. I don't mind for the car,
And you, just like the woman over here, only have PIP.
PIP. I have PIP, and I don't have no money at all to buy me another transportation.
You don't even have a way to get home up by 163rd Street.
Right, and 27th Avenue Northwest. That's where I live.
Well, so you lost your car, and you have no way to, no insurance, but you still feel very fortunate tonight.
Yes, thank God. I feel very fortunate. I hope somebody up there, maybe if they help me, to give me a transportation, because I don't have no money at all, I'm disabled,
Okay, Rudolfo, thank you very much. We wish you luck. And you're going to hear a lot of similar stories like that from this neighborhood near 8th Street, because a lot of people are homeless tonight. We understand the Red Cross is on its way here to help house the many elderly residents in this building, which no longer has a roof. Reporting live, I'm Jerry Helfman. Now back to you.
Already we're hearing these heart-wrenching stories, and we ought to tell you that NBC6, we're located at North Miami Avenue and 3rd Street and 4th Street. We border both streets. Miami Arena only a couple of blocks away, 8th Street only a couple of blocks away. So we actually felt this twister come right through our parking lot, and we're able to see the damage, especially the parking lot that some of our employees parked their cars in.
That's right, and we know that a number of car windows have been blown out, as we showed you a little bit earlier. Now, we know there's been a tornado in downtown Miami. We keep talking about a possible tornado in North Lauderdale. Roland Stedham is here to update us on that situation. Has that been confirmed?
Well, we don't have any confirmations of that as of yet, Jennifer. Sometimes it takes about 20, 30 minutes for all the commotion, all the dust to settle down to get actual confirmations. But I can tell you this, that the cell that was believed to have the tornado, which is this one right here, is now over Deerfield Beach, now over Boca Raton, still moving off to the northeast very rapidly. But now my primary concern is shifting down here to the southwest. Look at this cell that we have. Now, this is 595. That's the Sawgrass Expressway right there. So that is Weston, that is Pembroke Pines area, Shenandoah, and also Plantation area, and also Sunrise, seeing a very powerful line of thunderstorms right there with a very intense cell located right over Weston and right over the Pembroke Pines area. This is of primary concern right now, because not only do we have the concern with tornado activity, but also keep in mind that these thunderstorms are capable of producing very powerful downbursts, these cold pockets of air that descend out of the thunderstorms, and when they hit the ground, they just hit with this violent force and spread outward. So you can have what appears to be tornado damage just from a downburst alone, because some of these downbursts could exceed 80 miles per hour. So this is a primary concern with this cell right there. Also, deadly lightning is a real concern as well. So folks, if you live anywhere right now in Broward County, the best advice I could give you is just to stay indoors. Let's go to a live shot that we have right now of our tower cam. This is looking off to the west, and as you can see, there is that very, very powerful line of thunderstorms that we have out there to the west. Still, much of the metropolitan areas of Broward County not seeing any problems right now. Dade County is sitting pretty much high and dry, but the atmosphere is still very unstable and conditions continue to be very volatile all throughout South Florida. A tornado watch is in effect until 5 o'clock this evening for all of South Florida. That is the North Perry Airport, which you can see right there, which is located about right here. So that line of thunderstorms indeed confirming it is still to the west. So this is the primary concern. We'll continue to monitor this situation very closely. But if you live anywhere within the metropolitan areas of Broward County right now, please just stay close. Keep it tuned right here to NBC6 as we'll continue to monitor the progress of any possible tornadoes in the area. Again, that cell that was believed to have the tornado is right now over Deerfield, Boca Raton, and should be moving offshore in just a matter of minutes. Tony and Jennifer.
All right, which could really compound the problem here, the last cell we talked about, which is the Weston, Davie, Plantation, Pembroke Pines area, is that it's very rural out there, a lot of homes, but more importantly, a lot of construction. So as a result, there's going to be a lot of flying debris, in in the area that we're talking about, right, Roland? I mean, we're talking about those downbursts. We're talking about, as you said, winds, which really could create another problem in of itself.
Severe thunderstorms are capable of producing winds in excess of 55 miles per hour. You can have downbursts where the winds exceed 100 miles per hour. Now, typically here in South Florida, we don't get the downbursts where the winds exceed 100 miles per hour. That's more of what happens out there in the central part of the country around the states of Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And also, we typically here in South Florida don't get the big F3, F4, F5 type tornadoes. Those are the tornadoes where the winds can exceed 200 up to 300 miles per hour. We typically have the tornadoes that produce winds anywhere between 80 to about 120 miles per hour. So those downbursts indeed a problem, because where you see that downpour, that heavy shaft of rain that just comes down, there's a lot of cold, dense air associated with that rain when it comes down, and that could cause some of that damage that you're talking about, Tony and Jennifer.
Ari Adzer is right now over Little Havana, back in Sky 6 again. Ari, let's take a look from where you are.
Jennifer, you're looking now at the top of a 3-story apartment building. I believe this is where Jerry Helfman was reporting live from a few minutes ago on the ground. Take a look at that roof. It's just been shredded. The building, we're told, has been condemned. And as you look down, as you follow the path of our camera, you can see, looks like the roof timbers landed right there on those cars, and looks like it damaged that car. You can see the people there trying to remove all the wood and debris that landed. This is clearly in the path, the touchdown path of that tornado. Now we're going to look around and try to show you some of the other damage we spotted here. We spotted several large trees splintered, and we saw one structure. We believe it's a garage. I think it's straight down there. Rob Pierce, my photographer here, is operating the camera. And you can see there we got a tree that's just been splintered in two, and we've got some other structures in the area. It looked like a garage for a house that was completely destroyed. It was just splintered around there. Also, right around there, or straight down there, Rob, you can see that there's some metal shards of debris that have just sort of landed and scattered and twisted in the wind there as they landed in trees. And all around this area, you see bits and pieces of damage like this. This is where the tornado seemed to have come. A few minutes ago, we were reporting live from 21st and 21st. Now we've moved diagonally towards the northeast, and you can see how the tornado seemed to follow this path as it headed towards downtown and then went across the bay and dissipated. But in this area, it seems to be the hardest hit as far as damage that we've seen so far. Tony and Jennifer, have you seen anything that we haven't seen there from your shots on the ground?
Not anything more than you have shown us. It's truly remarkable, Ari, with the intensity of this tornado, whether it's an F1 or an F4, it's still a tornado, that we haven't seen more damage and we haven't seen more injuries. Thank goodness we haven't seen them, yet the damage we do see is so compelling, you shake your head wondering that there isn't any more.
Absolutely, that's what we're thinking here. You look at that building that we showed you a few minutes ago. If you bear with us here as we look for some more of the damage here. The building we showed you a few minutes ago was damaged so badly that it really is remarkable that the fire rescue units haven't transported anybody that we know of with serious injuries to the hospital after all this. We'll have more from Little Havana as soon as we can find some more damage here. For now, back to you.
All right, Ari, thank you. And, you know, it's also somewhat interesting as well. I remember when I was doing weather many years ago, it wasn't that common to actually see video of tornadoes. I think they've only been around for a short period of time, maybe 20, 30 years. And you're looking right now at the ground shots of Little Havana, which is basically the area that Ari was just over a few minutes ago. As we know, the roof was torn off of that building, and the whole corner section of an apartment has been exposed. You can see all the trees that are down, the tree limbs. There's lots of palm fronds everywhere. Marty Skold is on the ground there. Marty, are you with us? Actually, you're on the ground in downtown Miami.
Sure am, Jennifer. In fact, I'm right across the street from the NBC6 studios, in between the NBC6 studios, right by the federal prison and right by the Miami Arena, where it seems like the heart of the damage took place. It also seems like this tornado hopscotched its way through downtown. There's a lot of damage. We are in parking lot 10 of at least 50 cars. Gilda over here, I want to interrupt you a minute. How many cars do you think have been damaged in this parking lot? You're taking the assessment.
Okay, so far I have 8. We have 2 other employees taking reports, so there's a lot of damage.
And what sort of damage, and what are you doing with these reports?
Okay, this so they can present it to their insurance company.
Has everybody said that they have insurance?
So far, yes.
Okay. Have you ever dealt with anything like this?
No, I haven't. First time.
Okay, well, we're going to let you get back to your work. I want to show you what happened on the south and the west side of this storm, which seemed to be the strongest winds. The wind itself, not trees, not anything else, knocked this glass out. You see there's a lot of scratches on this car, and these cars were just some of the damage downtown. We also drove around a 10-block area and over by the Miami Police Department. There was just very incredible damage. I talked with Sandra here. You said you were eating lunch. How'd you find out there was a tornado?
The other co-workers called us all out, and they were looking out through the window, but I got there a little too late, so I missed it, but it seemed really bad.
Okay, and when you got out here, what did you find?
I found out that my van, one big window in the back and the passenger window in the front was damaged.
Okay, and what's the process that you're going to take now? I know you've talked to the parking lot attendant. Now what are you going to do?
They told us that we should call the parking lot facility. Maybe they will cover it, and not our insurance might have to cover it.
Do you have insurance to cover this?
Yes, thank God for that.
Okay, if you ever experienced anything like this, did you ever think a tornado would come through downtown Miami?
Never. And I didn't think anything was wrong when I came out here. I thought it was no big deal. And when I got here, it was a big shock. Total shock.
Total shock, and that's the way a lot of people feel. Good luck to you with filing all of your insurance. If you go down this parking lot, you see this is the scene, but it's all on the south and the west side. Just incredible glass shattering. You know, just the wind was so intense as it came down here. Now, as soon as the tornado went by and we were in the midst of it, the sun came out, and that's very, very familiar in a tornado situation. Right now, we're dealing with some rain showers here in downtown. I can tell you when we were driving through this area, we saw this building over here. It's called the Citadel, and it's located on 5th Street. All of the panes of the windows have blown out. People mover is going by right now. One of those was rocking. People were on it, and they were actually feeling the effects of this tornado with winds that we do not know, but we know that tornado winds can go up to 300 miles an hour. People were on that, and it was rocking around. Also over towards the Miami Arena, I just drove by there. There's fences that are down. You know, the intense portion of this wind really pushed those fences down. A lot of signal lights are out in downtown.
Hey, Marty, Marty, can you hear me?
Large trees that are down in many, many locations. So from the police department to the arena, past the
Marty, this is Tony. Can you hear me in your ear?
Across this area, that's where we saw the damage. Tony?
Okay, Marty, obviously she could not hear us. We have some breaking information. Let's go to Roland in the Storm Center. Roland?
Okay, we just got a report, Tony and Jennifer, of a funnel cloud in the area of Atlantic and Rock Island, which is in the Coral Springs area. That would be associated with this cell that we have right here, which is right there. That's it right there. So possible funnel cloud sighted right now within the Coral Springs area between Atlantic Boulevard and Rock Island, which is right up there in extreme northern Broward County. Also, Weather Service continuing to monitor this cell right here that is now moving out of Weston into Davie right now. And it looks like just getting ready to move into the metropolitan areas of Fort Lauderdale, which is located right here within this region. Very powerful cell. The possibility of tornado associated with this cell does exist. And these cells continue to move off to the northeast, folks, still very rapidly at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. Not only do we have a concern with tornado activity, but also those strong downpours. Deadly lightning is certainly a concern as well. If you live anywhere within the region right now of this powerful line of storms, which stretches from the metropolitan areas of northeast Broward County right on down into the metro areas of southern Broward County, please move away from any windows that you have right now. Move to the interior section of your home, hopefully away from any windows or any concerns or any shattering glass, which might be a possible concern right now. We'll continue to monitor this situation very closely, but we're not out of the woods just yet. Dade County not doing too badly right now. Just a few thunderstorms out here over the Everglades, but that's about it. All the primary concern right now is still focused in on Broward County with that very powerful line of storms. And these storms are also capable, Tony and Jennifer, of producing anywhere between 2 to 4 inches of rain in about 20 to 30 minutes. So we're going to have a lot of widespread flooding out there. It's going to be a real mess come the commute time as well. Tony and Jennifer?
But Roland, you are saying right now that a funnel cloud has been sighted, correct?
That's correct. Right around the area of Rock Island and Atlantic Boulevard. Now, that is not a tornado. A funnel cloud is, you might say, a premature tornado as it starts spinning up and winding down out through the bottom of the cloud. These do not always turn into tornadoes, but it is just an indication that the atmosphere is still very volatile, that there's still a lot of rotation, a lot of spinning going on within these thunderstorms. And when you have a situation like that, it only takes just the right conditions to develop to all of a sudden have a tornado actually go down and touch down on the ground. So it's a very dangerous situation that we need to continue watching.
And a funnel cloud doesn't actually touch either. Right. It's right above land. So, but nonetheless, when you see them, I mean, that's an indication that we need to really keep an eye on what we're telling you. Get away from any windows, especially if you're home. Let's go back to Ari Odzer in Sky 6. Ari?
Tony, we are going to give you now a hint, a little glimpse of a portion of this tornado's path. Take a look at right there. We think that's a garage behind a house. It's hard to tell from our vantage point what kind of structure that was. Clearly, it's no longer a viable structure. Then you see some roof damage there. Now, as we move our camera towards the southwest, you'll see some tree damage. Take a look at, these are hardwood trees that look to be splintered. Before we showed you a ficus tree that fell over. That's not usually a good gauge of wind speed because ficus trees are notorious for falling over because they have shallow root systems and very light winds. However, as we go a few blocks now, we'll go back to that building, and that, I think, is the most dramatic damage we've seen today. The roof timbers completely blown out of a 3-story building. Take a look at that. The building, we understand, has been condemned. As we slide around from there, you can see where the roof timbers, I believe, fell on a car. There we go, right over there. Behind that tree, that's that mess, that tangle of wood there, we believe are the roof timbers from the building next door that all fell down on top of some cars over there. So this area of Dade County, of Miami, Little Havana, seems to be the hardest hit that we've seen so far. Downtown has some damage to some cars, as we've seen, some office buildings down there that have windows blown out. But it was quite scary to be downtown when the tornado came through. I was standing in the NBC6 parking lot with photographer Jim Craven. Here's a little bit of what we saw. We are in the NBC6 parking lot. It is now 5 minutes to 2 in the afternoon. You look right over there, you can see the tornado's effect as it goes by the federal prison. You can see lots of debris flying in the air. We have felt pieces fall down on top of us, landing on cars around here. You can see up in the air, there's all sorts of construction debris from a project that's taking place 1 block over here downtown, where you've got pieces of tar and pieces of pavement flying around. I don't know what happened to it right now. It looks like it went behind the building, and it appears to have dissipated. Well, what a difference an hour and a half makes. We're live now over Little Havana. We're looking at the damage caused by that tornado. The weather now appears to be fine to the layman, but as you've heard from Roland and from Dave Damien, the conditions are still dangerous out there. Another tornado could form. And as you heard me say, that tornado did not dissipate right there as it passed behind the jail. As we saw the pictures earlier, it went right across the bay, and it was a spectacular sight to behold. One of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen, especially right there in downtown Miami. Tony and Jennifer?
All right, Ari, thank you very much. And as Ari was in Sky 6, we saw the hood of that car go up. That's the same car that Jerry Helfman was talking to that gentleman named Rolando, who needed that car to get back home because he didn't have a ride home. And they're still checking to see if that engine will work. So some desperate people right now trying to do whatever they can to get themselves back together quickly after this tornado touchdown.
Well, you may be watching us on television. You may actually, as the case may be, listening to us on radio right now. FP&L is telling us that some 8,000 to 10,000 customers are currently without power. They're still out there assessing the damage right now, so they're not real sure about how many how high that number will go. But we understand there are 5 main lines that are down from this tornado in Miami and Miami Beach. Again, 8,000 to 10,000 customers without power, and they're working on it right now. Just an incredible sight, Tony.
As Ari just mentioned, this touchdown at approximately 1:55 this afternoon, and again, we were under tornado watches and warnings earlier in the day because of the intense thunderstorms.
Actually, around 2:55, I believe it was. Just before 3 o'clock?
No,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. Okay.
Because we were both on our way in.
Yes, that's correct. You're right.
But nonetheless, you can see the touchdown. You can see all of the area around toward the bottom of this tornado, everything that it's picking up in its path as it moves across toward the east. And as we showed you on our map earlier, it really did take a couple of jogs to the northeast and then out into the bay, where it actually dissipated once it headed into the bay. And there you see Southwest 16th Street, right past our NBC6 studios. Ari Odzer just graphically gave us a look when he was staying in the parking lot. There you see past 395, 95, and out into the bay, Jennifer.
Right, looking at that blue line there is the path of the tornado, and I suppose we're very fortunate in that we're surrounded by water here, because when a tornado gets over water, it does dissipate, or at the very least it turns into a water spout and there's not much for it to hit, but it tends to dissipate as soon as it gets over water because it needs the pressure over land in order to survive and strengthen. We keep talking about the injuries and the amount of damage we're seeing out there. We're seeing very little injuries, which is certainly
remarkable.
Something extremely fortunate for us. Ileana Bravo is joining us now, and Ileana, you have a list of what the injuries are so far as we know. Is there anything serious out there?
Amazingly, and I think we should all be thankful that we have so few injuries, but in doing a spot check of the hospitals, basically in the sort of the path that the twister followed, I checked in with, let's see, Miami Heart Institute, and they're checking right now to see if they have any injuries. And Mount Sinai Hospital did report one woman in the emergency room, apparently a picture frame or a picture from the wall that came shaking off in the twister, fell on her head and hurt her. At Jackson Memorial Hospital, another woman in the emergency room. And at Mercy Hospital, we have 2 people, 2 adults with head lacerations, and they are in stable condition. Again, everyone we're describing here is in stable or even better condition than that, which is unbelievable when you see this kind of damage, when you wonder that people were either en route from lunch to work, from work, picking kids up from school and so forth. But I will tell you from our experience in covering hurricanes, even Hurricane Andrew comes to mind, that a lot of the people went to hospital emergency rooms later on. They sort of walked themselves in afterwards when they realized an injury perhaps that they thought was not as serious turned out to be a little more serious. So I wouldn't be surprised if during the rush hour or a little after that when people are heading home or vice versa, moving around, that they might be going into hospital emergency rooms, having themselves checked out, having their children checked out and so forth. But at this point, we're talking about 4 people, which is wonderful.
You've got to be in shock. Initially when something like this happens and you don't necessarily realize the severity of the injury at that point, because you're probably feeling not as much pain as you normally would because you're trying to figure out what's going on here and salvage what you can.
That's right, and hospitals are still paging me right now trying to give me reports of what's going on, so it's possible that other people could be coming in as we are on the air right now, and as soon as we have more injuries, any reports of that, we'll bring them to you, we'll tell you, and what areas of town were hardest hit.
Thank you, Linda. Timing is everything. Imagine this 3 hours ahead. We're talking rush hour. Can you imagine?
Absolutely.
Then we really could be talking about even more problems.
It's also amazing too because this is really like the end of the lunch hour, and it's surprising that more people weren't out there in, as Ileana mentioned, with the potential to get injured. So a lot of people obviously in the office buildings, which were spared, and mostly it was their cars that looked like they got damaged, and certainly a number of houses as we've seen. Red Cross people already out on the scene or on their way out at the scene
as
in Little
Havana. As our insurance people, which is good to see. It's so foreign to us, Roland. Let's get back to you. This is just so foreign to us. How many times, especially in the last month, have we had tornado warnings, tornado watches, nothing happens, you tend to dismiss it, and then you go on with your daily lives.
And then all of a sudden you get the real McCoy. That's why we have tornado watches. Tornado watches mean that conditions are favorable for the development of severe thunderstorms, and these severe thunderstorms are capable of producing tornadoes. That's why we call them severe thunderstorms, because of their real nasty nature. Now, this is the latest Doppler radar image right here, folks, on notice. Still this very powerful line of storms that we have right there from Deerfield Beach, Boca Raton, stretching on down through the metropolitan areas right there of Broward County. We have a couple of real strong hot spots. First of all, this one right there that is getting ready to move into Pompano Beach. Secondary hot spot is located right here from Sunrise, right across Plantation, and now moving into the downtown areas of Fort Lauderdale. That's the Port Everglades entrance right there. And that line of thunderstorms appears to end right here at the Dade-Broward County line. Now, let me go ahead and show you a satellite image because we're not out of the woods just yet. This is all being generated by a low-pressure system that's spinning around out here in the Gulf of Mexico. Notice how all the weather is now starting to move into northern and central and south Florida, but we still have quite a bit of activity that is lagging behind, stretching across Charlotte Harbor, Fort Myers, and right on up toward Tampa. It is the tail end of this system right here that is just going to be moving over South Florida later on tonight. Will it be producing severe weather? We don't know. It's all going to be a matter of timing as far as the sun setting. Once the sun begins to set, a lot of these thunderstorms begin to lose their energy. So let's go back to the Doppler radar then, if we could, to the ESD, so that you could see what's happening. The latest image I want to show you again is that the metropolitan areas of Broward County getting hit very, very hard. Stay indoors if you live anywhere in the metro areas of Broward County. Just stay indoors, get away from the windows. This is a very volatile situation without any warning. A tornado could start spinning out of the base of one of these thunderstorms and start striking. You've already seen the damage that these tornadoes are capable of doing, even though they're not very big tornadoes as far as say, you know, the Midwestern type storms are concerned, they still are capable of ripping the roofs off of homes and certainly shattering a lot of glass. That's why you want to stay away from windows and move to an interior section of your home. Tony and Jennifer.
Roland, we really should reiterate some of the safety precautions to take. What happens if you're driving down the street? As we saw, this went right over I-95. What do? Get out of your car?
No, do not get out of the automobile. But what you need to do is if you are driving in a car and all of a sudden you see one of these tornadoes moving right in front of you, you just need to pull over and get down beneath. But if you're driving in the front seat, of course, you need to get down beneath the dash of the automobile and cover your head. If you have a jacket or you have a towel or a blanket or anything like that in the car, just pull it over and protect your head, because you can certainly have debris flying around that would cause some of the windshields to shatter, and that is a real primary concern. So just get down below on the floorboards if you possibly can, and don't sit there, as tempting as it will be to sit there and watch this amazing twister of Mother Nature sit there and spin around in front of your eyes. Don't deal with it. Just get down and protect your head and protect your eyes at all costs.
And the lower you can go, the better, right? If you can get
go.
into some sort of a ravine or a little bit of a ditch without creating an accident or a problem, is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to do that, but the only thing is then you're going to start looking and seeing, is there a place for me to pull into? I would just stop, pull over to the side of the road, and just get down on the floorboard of your automobile. And lower is better, as you say, Jennifer. If you're in a home and you have a two-story house, get out of the second story, get down to the first floor of the home, and get toward the interior section of your home, preferably in a bathroom or something that doesn't have any windows. A closet is a great place to seek shelter.
Okay, Roland, thank you. Okay. We now have some home video that we're going to actually watch with you for the very first time. This was shot by two gentlemen from their balcony of the Grand Bay Hotel, and you can see this tornado forming as we see it together for the first time.
It's really just beginning to form. It's amazing. I believe the wind goes in a counterclockwise formation. Is that correct, Roland?
Correct. Counterclockwise rotation. That's over Bicentennial Park right there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it sure is. The woman we had on the phone earlier talked about this is an area where they're talking about building a new arena.
You can see it just growing and growing and beginning to twist all the debris up from the ground.
And take on its own personality.
Yeah, you can see the force of it.
What happens also, Tony and Jennifer, is that you'll notice it's starting to draw up a lot of water. These tornadoes are like vacuums. Not only do they have these very strong winds that rotate in a counterclockwise direction, but they also pull anything that's down on the ground up toward the base of the thunderstorm. So in essence, it's like a huge vacuum, and it's drawing up a lot of the salt water right there.
It's such an ominous sight to see that rotation right before your very eyes.
Yeah, it is. Ari Adzer is still in Sky 6. You're right in downtown Miami now. Ari, are you seeing some new damage?
Jennifer, we're looking down at the Southern Bell Annex parking lot, and there are several cars down there heavily damaged. Look at that red car there. We can't tell if trees landed on it or if it was picked up and tossed around or what, but it was severely damaged. You can see the trees there splintered, and as we move across the parking lot, you'll see another car there also heavily damaged. And these people had no idea what was going on. They just came outside and saw all this damage once they came outside of their building. We are just south of the Miami Arena. Actually, we're flying right over it right now. There's the Miami Arena to give you an idea of where we're located. And we're going to show you just a couple of blocks away from here at the City of Miami Police Department some damage there, where there was a slight roof damage there on the building, as well as some trees that collapsed in the parking lot of the police department. There you see there that some of the see the splintered trees there, and some cars probably damaged underneath there. It's hard to tell from our vantage point. But downtown, as you know, was in the direct line of the tornado. And certainly, if you weren't in the direct line in downtown, you were probably in the debris field, because stuff was flying everywhere. Bits of concrete, bits of trees. I saw palm fronds flying by when I was outside earlier, and lots of pieces of tar paper and things like that probably lifted from roofs like the police departments, and also from little street paving projects around the area. So it was quite a scene. As Roland said, just amazing to watch nature work, watch that funnel cloud spin around. For any of you who are fortunate enough to see it, who didn't suffer any damage, it was a great spectacle. To the rest of you out there who suffered damage from this, it's a horrible day. But what an amazing thing to watch. Tony and Jennifer?
And thank you, Ari. As you can see, that is the Citadel building, which is part of the historic Salvation Army building that they have just renovated, all the windows blown out there. The fortunate thing for us is we're 3 blocks away. The NBC6 studio is 3 blocks away, and we are so fortunate that we didn't suffer any damage here. This is the Citadel building. As you see, all the windows blown out. Right to the next of that archway is part of the old Salvation Army building, which has been documented as an historical building, and they renovated that. And there you see the people pulling the debris, and there's a woman who obviously not only is very frightened, but may have suffered a little bit of damage. But we understand that the injuries to personal injuries have been very, very minimal. In talking to Ileana Bravo just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, appears to have an injury on her face, and obviously a lot of people are probably still in shock, and we'll see who ends up going to the hospital afterwards as things calm down a little bit and they're able to assess the damage. I'll tell you, as we were talking with David Damien, especially a little bit earlier ago, it's amazing that for all our sophistication and our Doppler radar and everything else, we really still know very little about tornadoes. We do not even have any way of measuring what the internal wind speed of a tornado is, and basically the National Weather Service goes out after the fact, assesses the damage, and then based on the damage, that's how they determine the strength that tornado was. And now we're getting video from all over the place. I mean, we have numerous home video, as you probably saw live in our air as the tornado was forming. We saw the video from one of our cameras, or from several of our cameras, but it wasn't that long ago that there was no video of tornadoes, and they didn't even know that the winds traveled in a counterclockwise fashion.
Exactly.
So we really have come a long way, but we still know very little about these things.
Still an ominous sight. I remember living through an F3 in Omaha, Nebraska, covering the College World Series, and that was not fun. And they're a little more sophisticated because that's what they deal with,
right.
and their Dopplers are a little bit different than our Dopplers insofar as gauging a tornado and its presence. Let's go back out to Jerry Helfman with more information. And Jerry, what do you have for us?
Well, Tony, you're looking at the condemned building here on Southwest 3rd Street. One by one, residents of this building are going in. You can see fire personnel right now carrying out someone's medication. Most of the residents of this building are elderly residents. They have heart medications, nerve medications. This woman, I was talking to her daughter, lived on the 2nd floor. Excuse me, can I ask you a question? Yeah. You're going in, oops, someone's on my mic. Excuse me, I can't, standing on my microphone. If he could just move so I can keep moving. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Jerry Helfman from Channel 6. You're getting your mom's medication?
Yeah, I was with my grandma. She's my grandma, and I was getting all her medication. Oh, my kid's picture.
We'll get the picture for you.
Okay.
Can you get her picture?
Yeah, look how the frame became with all that wind there and all that. That was left of the frame and all that.
What was your mom doing on the 2nd floor when the tornado came?
She was asleep. She was asleep, basically. She was asleep, then we had to go in and start knocking down the door, me and my 3 kids, and try to get them all out. It's chaos in there. Let me just say that. I don't know, the building is really, I'm glad the fire department is not leaving them go in and all that, because it's really, the 3rd floor is really destroyed. There ain't no help for that 3rd floor. It reminded me of Andrew when it would happen. I'm just scared of it still. I'm shocked.
I have to assume the same as everyone else I've spoken to, you're just feeling very fortunate that your mother got out without any serious injury.
Oh, I thank God about that she made it alive, and the only one lady that got really hit on her head, but like death or anything like that, I'm just thanks to God that nothing really happened.
What's your name?
My picture, Naomi Rico.
Naomi, thank you very much. Now I'm going to walk over here because I see the Red Cross gentleman here. We see 2 Red Cross officials here who are here to assist some homeless people. Hi, Jerry Helfman. What's your name?
Freddie Salaya.
Freddie, what are y'all doing out here?
Basically what we got an emergency call from City of Miami saying that this building was condemned. What we have is 3 units down. Right now we don't know the damage at the point. We have emergency personnel coming on their way to assess the damages. What we're going to do is we're going to give shelter, food, whatever's needed in case of an emergency like this one. And if anybody needs assistance, they could call the chapter at 644-12,000 for any emergency.
644-1200.
1200, yes.
And you have any takers so far? I mean, are there any people that are truly homeless without relatives or people to stay with?
At this time, I could not give you any comments on that because we haven't done any damage assessment.
Have you been inside the building?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you're here, and I see a couple of your people here, and you have the orange vests and the big Red Cross, so they can't miss you, and you would just invite people to approach you if they need your help.
Yes, ma'am.
Or to call the number. You said, once again, the number is?
644-1200.
Okay. So once again, we have people here at this condemned building, fire officials, taking them in one by one to get out their needed medicines. The Red Cross is on the scene. We also understand that 10 to 12,000 people in the area are still without power. There were some public works trucks in the neighborhood. I'm looking around, I don't see them anymore. Obviously, FP&L working to restore power to those homes. And right now, that's the latest from here. Like I said, it's an unsafe building. They wouldn't let us even get too close to it. If you pan up, Mo, you can see that there's a big rock perched on the edge of the building, which they're even fearful might come down. Kind of surprising that they're letting people in the building at all. But I guess some of these people have some needed medications, and they're taking them in and doing it as carefully as possible. Reporting live, I'm Jerry Helfman, NBC6.
Jerry, thank you. We do want to tell you a couple of things. One, we will be joining Rosie O'Donnell at 4 o'clock, and then we'll be coming back with an hour and a half of news covering this event today. A couple of things I want to point out. A, this community, we're so conditioned because of the nature of where we live in the tropics. When we talk about hurricanes, preparing. You know, we know it's hurricane season beginning June 1st. It lasts through November. We understand what a hurricane warning, what a hurricane watch is, where we have to go, what we have to do for a hurricane. We're not prepared for a day like this. But secondly, you know, this community has always taken such hard knocks, lessons learned. Everybody is out helping everybody else this afternoon after a tragic situation. The Red Cross is already out. The insurance adjusters are already out. Certainly lessons learned from Andrew and lessons learned by a community that really does rally to help its own when tragedy like this happens. And, you know, it's good for this community because so many times we suffer black eyes throughout the rest of the country because of what is perceived in this area where perception necessarily isn't reality.
And just to reiterate, we should say that all of South Florida is under a tornado watch, which means the conditions are favorable for a tornado to form until 5 o'clock this evening. Is that correct, Roland, until 5 o'clock?
Yeah, I do need to give you an update regarding that. I just got an update from the Weather Service. The tornado watch has now been extended. Just been extended by the Weather Service until 9 o'clock tonight, so we're not out of the woods just yet. Even though Dade County is A-OK, we still have a very strong thunderstorm cell located right over the heart of downtown Fort Lauderdale, also right here over Pompano Beach. But as you look back to the west, we have a new flare-up of thunderstorm activity, which is once again right over Sunrise, down into Plantation, stretching back across Davie, and right here over Weston. A couple of other little hot spots that are going to be moving over Pembroke Pines. And why do we have the tornado watch until 9 o'clock tonight? Let's go ahead and show you the satellite. It is for the control room upstairs. It's on RadarSat, folks. If we can punch that up very quickly, I want to be able to show you what's happening. We still have a lot of clouds, and the big disturbance that's out here to the west of us. See this trail of clouds we have right here stretching from Tampa right on down to Fort Myers out into the Gulf of Mexico. This has yet to move over us, and because conditions are still very volatile, that tornado watch has been extended until 9 o'clock tonight. Tony and Jennifer.
So again, that's a watch, which means conditions are favorable for a tornado to form. But at this point, we have no warnings anywhere.
Right now, we don't have any warnings. We've only had the last report about a half hour ago. I had a report of a funnel cloud, which was near Atlantic Boulevard and Rock Island. That was in Coral Springs, but the cell that produced that funnel cloud has already moved offshore. This activity is moving very rapidly from the southwest to the northeast at about 20 miles per hour, so things can happen very, very quickly like that. That's why we need to continue to stay on top of the situation. But a tornado watch means the conditions are favorable for severe thunderstorms that could spawn tornadoes.
Roland, I don't want to overload you, but if people in Broward see something, they should give you a call in the Weather Center.
That would be nice. Yeah, if you give us a call, of course, we're going to continue to monitor the phones here very closely. If anybody calls and says, of course, we hope that we don't get any prank calls or anything of that nature. This is a very serious, life-threatening situation. But if you do spot a funnel cloud in the vicinity of your neighborhood, please give us a call here at the NBC6 studios.
And as you said before, the funnel cloud that had just been sighted, that is not the same as a tornado. That is something that has not touched down yet?
Exactly. That's a funnel cloud that's just spinning around. It's in the air. It has not yet touched down. A tornado is what your primary concern is. But if you have a funnel cloud, that's how tornadoes begin. They begin as funnel clouds that continue to descend, and sometimes they do touch down on the ground, and once they do, they become a full-fledged tornado.
Okay, Roland, thank you very much. Let's go to Marty Scholes. She's standing right by the Citadel building. And for those of you who go to Heat games or Panther games and you walk to the arena, you walk by this building every single time you go to a game, and all the windows, Marty, blown out.
They certainly are, Tony. Every one of the windows on the south side of this building, the Citadel, are blown out. We are located right now, as you said, right by the arena on Northwest 5th Street. And I have the owner of the building here with me this afternoon. Sir, this is Daniel Arias. Your building looks like it has been completely demolished, especially the windows. The police have put tape around it. You were supposed to have a grand opening.
Yes, the 16th of this month will be the grand opening for the community enterprise for the Dade County. But what you see is really it's no structural damages. It's only glass. That's going to be replaced before the Friday is going to be done.
You were not here during the tornado. You were called. Did you expect to see anything like this?
No, of course not. But from Dade County, they called me and said, "Do you heard that the tornado hit your building, and I came immediately. I talked to the guy that you see there is represent the Alumiglass. It's a large company from Boca that they build all the glass, and they're taking care of that. Because it's not structural damage. It's only the glass, because the center of the hurricane came right there.
And thank goodness no one was hurt in this storm out here. So you'll replace the glass and still have your grand opening?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. We are once again at this Northwest 5th Street, and just across the way you can see this entire parking lot. In this parking lot, a lot of you park in if you come down to the arena. All of the trees in the parking lot, and we've counted as many as a dozen trees, have been snapped off right in the middle. We also have a fellow here with me who was outside in a parking lot right in the heart of this storm. Carl, tell me what you experienced.
Well, I had just gotten out of my car. I'm a student at Trinity International University. I was parked in the Central Baptist Church parking lot, and I heard a noise. I turned around. I saw the debris flying about 4 stories in the air, so I knew what was going on. I jumped back in the car, and I could feel it rattle and try to pick it up, and in a few minutes it just passed over, and then we could see in the distance the gray funnel cloud against the dark clouds.
Certainly an awesome experience, and thank goodness as few people hurt as there are. As you see behind me, the very intense winds that came out of this tornado as it came through the heart of downtown Miami around 1:55 this afternoon. An awesome experience, certainly a very frightening experience. I was out in the parking lot at the time. I can tell you it was certainly a very active storm situation, which did produce the tornado, went up into a waterspout, and then gone. We will continue to follow this situation from downtown and elsewhere throughout the afternoon. Tony and Jennifer.
Marty, thank you. We're going to continue to stay with us just for another 5 or 6 minutes or so, and then we're going to join the Rosie O'Donnell show. But we do want to hear some of these eyewitness reports.
Let's go to Willard Shepard, who is live right here with some information that someone gave you about an eyewitnessing this event.
That's right, Tony. Of course, it was an incredible day here in South Florida. Imagine looking and seeing this if you were working or you were out here in downtown Miami. This type of funnel cloud coming at you this afternoon. Of course, people very, very frightened, literally running for their lives. Here's what they told us.
I don't know, it was neat, but it was scary at the same time, seeing all this stuff flying around in the air. The ears start, getting funny like on the airplane, and it was incredible.
And we see a branch go by, which is nothing unnormal, and then we see a pallet fly by, which is fairly abnormal. So we were looking around here, and all of a sudden we heard what sounded like a freight train, and the cars over here started flipping.
We were in the people mover, and I looked out and saw some debris flying, and I told Bob, that looks like a tornado. And then Bob looks over, and I look again, and I see the funnel cloud coming down, and that's when we said, it is a tornado. And Bob said, well, what do we do? It's like, we need to get out of here, but we were not sure, and sure enough, it starts coming our direction, and we didn't know what to do. We kind of finally said, well, let's get out of here, and everybody started bailing out. We ran down the steps, and we laid on the floor, and it just flew right over our heads, debris, everything flying over our heads.
And of course, we're very, very fortunate that not many people were hurt in this today. So many people turning and seeing this coming at them this afternoon. Just imagine that if you were out doing your job here in South Florida today, out on the street, turning and actually seeing a tornado. We saw the inflection rise in the one man's voice there who was on the Metro Mover when he looked up the reality that a tornado was actually coming for him, and he had to actually take some movement to be able to get out of the way to save his own life. Tony and Jennifer, back to you.
Well, thank you. How about those people coming over to the mainland from the east when they saw that coming and in their cars on top of the bridge? I can't even imagine being in that position.
People in Bayside going out and seeing this and running back in again. We have video of this tornado basically from its inception to its very end. And here you see the tornado as it's just beginning to form. Once again, it happened just before 2 o'clock this afternoon, right around the conclusion of lunch hour, forming around I-95, moving east to the...
This is Bicentennial Park. Again, this is where they're talking about building the new arena. And you can see as the storm begins to develop, or as the tornado begins to develop, you can see the base widen out a little bit, and then you can see the debris that it's starting to throw out to either side as it touches the ground.
We're told at this point in time that in excess of 10,000 customers from Florida Power and Light are without power. They are on Miami and Miami Beach. Obviously, Florida Power and Light is still gathering information on this. There are 5 main lines that are down. They're working on it right now, and they hope to restore power as soon as possible.
And if you know someone who is homeless as a result of this, we saw one condemned building on Southwest 3rd Street and 8th Avenue, and as a result, those people are looking for a place to stay. The Red Cross is on the scene. The Red Cross told our Jerry Helfman just a few moments ago, if you know of anyone, we want to give you the phone number. It's area code 305-644-1200. Again, if you hear us on the radio or you know someone watching us on television this afternoon, you're fortunate enough to have power. Again, the number is 305-644-1200. Notify the American Red Cross. Tell them the situation. Tell them the problem. They'll be out there as quickly as they can to help solve the problem that you're under.
And the bottom line is, for all the damage we've seen, we are not seeing any serious injuries at this point. Ari Adzer is up live in Sky 6 right now to give us a bird's eye view of some more of the damage. Ari, what are you seeing right now, and where exactly are you there?
Jennifer, we're flying above the Miami River. You're looking at Southwest River Drive, and there are at least half a dozen homes and other structures here with moderate to severe roof damage. Take a look right there at that apartment building. You see the roof seems to be like peeled back, as if it was like a can being opened by the tornado. And as we move here, as Rob Pierce moves the camera a couple of blocks away, you see a big chunk of roof lying there in the grass. Where did it come from? From that building, we assume right there where the timbers are exposed, and it looks like that is an apartment building because you've got rooms there, a door there off its hinges just sort of laying there, and it looks to be completely totaled. So we're going to go up a little bit from there, and you'll see some more damage. You'll see trees damaged, and look at the timbers from that roof. They're gone. They're missing. They're scattered to the wind by the tornado. This is the scene we're seeing all around here. Trees splintered, roofs damaged. That building right there already has plastic put down on it. A few minutes ago, we saw a person, a couple of guys up there laying the plastic down as if this was after Hurricane Andrew. You remember all the plastic on just about every roof that you saw. Obviously a much smaller scale, though. So that's the sort of damage we're seeing here as we watch the pattern from where this hurricane touched down. It seemed to hopscotch from the southwest to the northeast, and that's a clear pattern we've seen as it moved through Dade County like that, up to the water's edge where you saw the pictures earlier, how it widened out. There you can see that's the direction it came from on the wider shot, from the southwest to the northeast, all the way across the river, through downtown, scattering bits of damage all the way this afternoon. Tony and Jennifer, back to you.
Well, it's an easy mistake, but it was not a hurricane. It was, in fact, a tornado, and we've heard a couple of people refer to it that way just because you look at the damage and you don't know what to think.
Talk about deja vu. You see that plastic and visqueen, the roof of choice after Hurricane Andrew. It just takes you back like that. Yeah. Let's go to Roland for a final update. Roland?
Okay, Tony and Jennifer, the initial line of thunderstorms that we've had affecting us earlier is now starting to move off the coastline, but you notice, look at what's coming in from the west. This is the secondary line. This is the leading edge of this disturbance that has yet to move over South Florida. Now, we do not appear to have very intense cells associated with this as of yet, but conditions remain very volatile in the atmosphere. A tornado watch remains in effect for all of South Florida until 9 o'clock tonight. So even though things may settle down, it could flare up later on tonight. We'll continue to watch it very closely.
Okay, thank you for joining us. We will have extended coverage, live team coverage of the tornado that touched down beginning at 5 o'clock, 90 minutes of live coverage.
Stay with us. We are going to join the Rosie O'Donnell show right now. And don't forget, we do have a tornado watch in effect until 9 o'clock this evening, so stay tuned to NBC 6.
You're watching a special edition of NBC 6 News, Tornado Touchdown.
This is some of the most ominous video I think we have seen around South Florida in quite some time. A tornado, yes, a tornado, touches down in downtown Miami. There is damage, but amazingly, no one is seriously injured. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the NBC 6 News. A tornado touchdown in Miami, and for the next half hour, we will have team coverage of this incredible story.
And let's take a look at some more of these pictures. They are unusual. They are gripping. At 1:55 this afternoon, the twister tore through Miami's southwest edge and headed right into Biscayne Bay.
And we are still under a tornado watch right now. We have live team coverage tonight. Jerry Helfman is live in Little Havana. Ari Adzer is above the damage in Sky 6. But first, we're going to go to NBC 6 anchor Steve Daniels, who is field anchoring our extended team coverage tonight. He's live outside the Citadel building, a building that's been condemned tonight. And for a point of reference, the Citadel building only a block block and a half from NBC6 and a block and a half from the Miami Arena.
That's right, Tony and Jennifer, good evening. It was absolutely surreal, just an ominous sight this afternoon as those of us who work downtown looked out the window a little before 2 o'clock and we saw this giant tornado barreling toward us. It was coming out of the sky from the southwest. It descended over downtown and came tearing through this area, tearing through the Citadel. The National Weather Service, in fact, tells us this was the epicenter of the tornado's path. Right now, these guys, good evening guys, are in here cleaning up, but earlier this evening, it was absolutely full of this glass. You can see this brand new office building that's scheduled to open up on Friday, just devastated. They've actually managed to put some of the blinds back together and are trying to get the pieces back together. They've called the glass man. They hope the glass repairman is back here tomorrow trying to clean up the action here, trying to clean up the debris. Let's take a look at some of the damage from downtown from earlier today. You can see that trees were broken, things were twisted around. This is an exterior shot of the Citadel building where I am right now. You can see every pane of glass absolutely shattered, no glass left in this building. All 4 floors are just absolutely devastated, and it's going to be a big job for the glass people tomorrow when they try to get here. Let's take a look at what the tornado actually looked like. As I described it, coming in out of the southwest, it actually came through. You can see giant clouds of debris whipping around, all kinds of things was just scooping up off the floor, off the ground, and into its cloud. This is a view shot from a skyscraper, actually I should say a townhouse complex on Miami Beach, looking back toward the city of Miami. That's one of the Venetian islands in the foreground there. You can see the funnel cloud from this tornado just descending across Biscayne Bay. Absolutely incredible sight. People all over town looked to the sky, looked with their home video cameras, and looked with their naked eye and saw this giant tornado barreling toward them. Fortunately, the good news in all of this is that very few people were hurt. Only minor injuries. This building, the Citadel, is actually been declared an unsafe building now. The building inspectors were out here and they said, yeah, you got to get out of here. You can't be near the place, at least for the occupants. The owner of the building told me just a little while ago, he says, I don't know what kind of bad luck I have. Just last week, a car actually hit one of the buildings, took out a couple of panes of glass. The guys were just out fixing that earlier today. Wouldn't you know it, about 2 o'clock. Every piece of glass now out of this building shattered as these people try to clean up, repair, and get back to business as normal, perhaps as early as tomorrow. Reporting live in downtown Miami, I'm Steve Daniels, NBC6.
All right, Steve, and as we said, we're still under a tornado watch right now.
Yeah, so let's go right over to Roland Stedham, who's been tracking these very dangerous storms. And Roland, it was pretty unusual, pretty amazing to actually see a tornado form right in front of our cameras today.
Absolutely, Jennifer. And folks, we still have to remain very vigilant here in South Florida. We are still under a tornado watch, which is in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. The watch area highlighted within this red box right here. And you'll notice this is the line of thunderstorms that we had moved through earlier today. This is the secondary line of thunderstorms now forming out to the west of us. And those storms are indeed moving from the southwest to the northeast. And notice a little flare-up we now have right there, right around Homestead. So there's one batch of thunderstorms. This is the secondary line that we have to be concerned with. We'll notice an intensification right here out over Collier County. And this line of thunderstorms indeed looks like it's going to be clipping at least parts of northern Broward County. These thunderstorms are not severe at this point, but conditions still remain very favorable for the development of severe thunderstorms that can spawn tornadoes. Now, let me go ahead and show you some video. Why do tornadoes form? It's absolutely amazing. They are called the strongest storms on Earth. Very intense low-pressure systems develop right down here at the surface, and what you're noticing is all those winds swirling and spiraling around that intense low-pressure system. They're located right there at the surface, and those winds spiral all the way up within the heart of that thunderstorm. Actually, tornadoes, we think that they just extend from the base of the cloud to the surface. It is not true. Tornadoes extend from the base of the cloud to the surface and all the way up, sometimes 40 to 50,000 feet in the air. So the real heart, the real mechanism that is driving that tornado that you see right there was actually well embedded within that thunderstorm that moved over South Florida. So very, very intense situation here in South Florida, and still very kind of unstable and very volatile, to say the least. Tony and Jennifer.
Okay, Roland, thank you. And as we look at these incredible pictures, we need to give you a very real perspective. We need to give you an accurate perspective on just how much damage this tornado actually caused today.
NBC6 reporter Ari Odzer is assessing the damage live from Sky 6. Ari?
Tony, this has been an extraordinary experience. I've had the unique opportunity to not only see the tornado firsthand from very close by in our parking lot earlier, but now to see the damage that it caused from Sky 6. We are flying over Little Havana. Take a look at that roof right there. It looks like the tornado was a can opener, just peeled back the lid from that roof there. As we survey this block, you'll see all sorts of damage. People out there looking at the damage, trying to pick up the debris. Everywhere you look in this 3 or 4 block radius, there's debris scattered on the ground. We just passed, well, there you see a big roof that was covered over with a tarp over the last hour or so. An hour ago, that tarp wasn't there. And if you look down here on the grass, you'll see another big piece of roof right there belonging to the building in the foreground, the green building, where you see the big hole in the roof. This is the sort of thing we see all over Little Havana. Look at that, splinters there where a roof used to be. And there's several pockets of damage just like this in the Little Havana area as we saw the tornado sort of hopscotch its way from the southwest part of Miami northeast across the city as it left over Biscayne Bay and finally dissipated. And all this took, what, 4 or 5 minutes, I guess. I guess Roland would have a better idea of the exact time frame, but it didn't last very long, and it caused this damage. What's amazing to me from Sky 6 is you see this damage here. Now, if we pull out wide, you'll see that a couple of blocks away, there's no damage. It just sort of picked and chose its spots carefully, I guess, and just caused damage wherever it felt like it. So if you were unlucky enough to be in its path, you suffered that. If you were a block away, you had no damage whatsoever. Very unusual situation here, and this is, I guess, how tornadoes work. We're just not that familiar with them here in South Florida. Live in Sky 6, I'm Ari Odzer, NBC 6.
Yeah, well, in fact, that hopscotching pattern is very typical of low-grade of tornadoes that occur in this area.
We are so hurricane conditioned here on preparation. Something like this is really incongruous to all of us here, especially after you see where it's been and the damage it causes. NBC 6 reporter Jerry Helfman is also assessing the damage tonight.
In fact, she's at a building in Little Havana that has officially been shut down, a building that had the roof torn off, Jerry.
Well, Jennifer and Tony, this scene, which has been very active all day, is now quieting down somewhat. However, the pictures still tell the whole story. You can look up and, of course, see the roof is off the 3rd story of this building. No protection from the thunderstorms and showers that are right now passing over this area. This now condemned 38-unit, 3-story building is closed. The orange sign on the wall telling people to stay out. The padlock locked on the gate, keeping them out. All of the building's occupants are now with relatives or the Red Cross. These pictures inside the now condemned building tell the story. Orlando Mora lived in Unit 32 and was inside when, with no advance warning, the tornado ripped the roof off his apartment and the entire building.
When this thing coming, I'm putting my head in the hand and I'm going to fall down. All of this, look.
The roof came down right on your head.
No, my head, yeah. I'm putting my hand on the head and fall down, you know.
You're lucky you weren't killed.
I'm lucky, and thank you, God, for saving me today.
The roof landed behind the building on top of 2 cars. The owners have no insurance and no idea how they'll replace their belongings, but they feel lucky they weren't hurt. Meantime, elderly residents were escorted into this unsafe structure one by one by fire officials to retrieve medications for heart illnesses and other serious ailments. Mayor Joe Carollo is here to survey the damage and ensure that the Red Cross takes care of those now homeless.
When it first came, we were at City Hall and we went up to the balcony and we could see it. And it was scary. It was scary. Thank God that the damage has been limited and that hardly no one has been hurt.
And look at this. Rudolfo Polo, whose car was under the roof, perseveres, gets his car started, and now drives away in this vehicle that was literally crushed by this tornado. Now that was a determined man, and that, of course, is the kind of triumphant story we hope to hear more of in the days to come as people clean up and pick up the pieces after this tornado. Reporting live in Miami, I'm Jerry Helfman, NBC 6.
Jerry, thank you. Glad to see he got that car started, huh?
A daunting task for him,
yeah,
but he overcame all the obstacles, didn't he?
Meanwhile, we are, of course, continuing to follow this very dangerous day in South Florida.
Exactly. Right now, we're getting more pictures of this tornado touching down in downtown Miami. We're going to show them to you. We're also going to tell you about how this storm affected a Miami-bound flight from Boston. Coming up. Stay with us.
Hey lover, how about some garden supplies? Seat covers just like these, 4-foot fence and flares, electric cookware if you please. You'll be the first place I'll always try, 'cause just like me, you have a softer side. Come see the softer side of Sears.
You know what I like about new Lady Speed Stick Invisible Dry? Unlike other stick antiperspirants that can leave white residue, Lady Speed Stick helps keep me invisible and dry. Now you see it, now you don't. New Lady Speed Stick Invisible Dry.
They said we couldn't create a low-fat ice cream delicious enough to be called Haagen-Dazs, or make a low-fat ice cream creamy enough to carry the Haagen-Dazs name. But we did it. Introducing the only low-fat ice cream good enough to be called Haagen-Dazs. Everything they said you couldn't get in a low-fat ice cream with just 3 grams of fat per serving. New Haagen-Dazs low-fat ice cream. It's just perfect.
Now, the only thing more exciting than Pontiac Firebird's performance at the starting line or the finish line is its performance on the bottom line. Because for a limited time, you can get $1,000 cash back or 7.9% APR financing on any Firebird or Trans Am in stock. Think of it as prize money for the highly motivated. Firebird excitement, now with $1,000 cash back or 7.9% financing at your local Pontiac dealer today.
You're watching a special edition of NBC6 News, Tornado Touchdown.
Well, with winds topping more than 100 miles an hour, the tornado dealt a powerful blow to homes and cars, amongst other things, in South Florida. In just a matter of minutes, the twister left a trail of damage throughout South Florida. Now, some of the people hardest hit are the local business owners.
Oh, indeed. The tornado cut right through Miami's business district today. It rocked this frame shop on Coral Way in Miami. Pictures and paintings were knocked off the walls, as you can see. Employees were working inside when the twister struck.
Yeah, everything here was swirling around, just like back there. Like I told you, it was like a dust storm. It was circular inside that room back there, totally circular. It was swinging like this. The dust inside and all on the top. It was like a snowstorm. You couldn't see through it.
No word tonight on exactly how much of the financial toll this twister has taken on the local businesses here.
Well, certainly many of you watched the tornado unfold live on NBC6 this afternoon.
But for those of you who may have missed it, the pictures are indeed compelling. NBC6 senior correspondent Ike Siemens takes us through the twister's wrath minute by minute. Ike?
Well, you know, Tony, by the time it reached downtown Miami, both the pro and the amateur camera persons were out and ready. Now, they were surprisingly strategically placed to capture the tornado's timeline and path from start to finish.
Right there.
Doc Blair was in downtown Miami and got these dramatic pictures on home video as the funnel cloud churned over the Miami police station. At the police station, light poles slammed into cars. Trees also fell on vehicles in the parking lot. Debris everywhere. But the building is okay. No one seriously injured.
Touching down again. Come on, let me get you on video.
A couple of blocks away on the west side of I-95, Grant Kemp had his video camera working too. Don't pay any attention to the time. This was probably more like 2 o'clock, not 1. NBC6 cameraman Carlos Regal was just north of downtown Miami when he saw the twister. He thought it was coming right for him. At the last minute, it veered off to the east.
Yeah, we'll go inside the bathroom now as soon as it gets a bit too close.
As it did, it slammed into Bicentennial Park as Al Shamlin filmed the action from his apartment in the Grand. Then it was over Government Cut. Miraculously, it missed cruise ships. Now, you expect the pros to be cool and collected in those situations, but how amazing is it to have the amateurs not only react with lightning speed to capture the pictures, but they really got some good ones too, don't you think?
They really did.
Yeah.
All right, Ike, thank you.
especially considering it wasn't all that long ago that a tornado had never been captured on film.
Having that video camera ready, that's even more amazing to me.
Yeah, that's true. And as we look at some of the damage, we're seeing that it's very spotty. It's sort of hopscotched from one place to another, and that's pretty unusual looking to the observer. But we know now that it is typical of these lower category tornadoes.
And we want you to take a look at some of these pictures. You can see the spotty damage, as Jennifer just alluded to, in Little Havana. Roofs damaged, debris on the ground. And then next to it, homes are completely intact. Because of the damage, the Red Cross is now open for all of those victims who need that help. This is at the Miami Riverside Center. NBC6 reporter Danielle Knox is there live. Danielle?
Hi, Tony. We'll take a look at the sign. It says American Red Cross Disaster Services right now inside the Riverside Center at 444 Southwest 2nd Avenue. About 25 or so people who suddenly found themselves displaced. Right now, they have a roof over their head, but earlier today, they found themselves with no roof. Take a look at some of the video we shot from inside just a little while ago. You see that they're eating right now. The Red Cross making sure of that. The Red Cross also signing these people in and trying to find a place for them to stay tonight. The problem is trying to find an open place in the city. Just moments ago, we learned that these people will be staying at the Baptist Church. Coming back out live to me, that location 5911 West Flagler. They will have a place to stay tonight, and that shelter will be open for about 3 or 4 days while building inspectors assess the situation down at their apartment building and decide what they're going to do next. But the bottom line is tonight, all of those people who were displaced from that apartment building Jerry Hoffman showed you just a little while ago will have a place to stay tonight and for the next few days if they need it. Reporting live from downtown Miami, Danielle Knox, NBC6.
Danielle, thank you. We will be talking to a Red Cross official coming up in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, reports of damage from the twister continue to pour into the NBC6 newsroom.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sure to please. Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat.
Spectracide grass and weed killer works in 24 hours. The other brand takes a little longer. Actually, a lot longer. Spectracide works in hours, not days. That's why weeds can't hide from Spectracide.
You just can't have a bad day while eating white chocolate mousse this good.
On the next Extra, Marcia Clark. She gained fame in the trial of the century, but there's more to Marcia than you may know. Now, Extra uncovers her past, revealing photos, a hidden husband, and her latest young lover. Marcia Clark and the skeletons in her closet. Then, they want to buy American, be American, even look American. So young Asian women are undergoing painful plastic surgery on their eyes, but their community is outraged. See why, only on Extra.
Extra, weeknights at 7:30 following Access Hollywood on NBC6.
This is Mako Madness. Isn't it madness not to treat your Chevy, Nissan, or Olds to a new Mako Supreme Paint package and save 50%? We'll sand away chips and scratches, wrap your car in a full coat of primer sealer, and add a UV sunscreen, and you pay only half price. It's Mako Madness. So if you want to save 50%, just say, uh-oh, better get Mako? And save 50% on our Supreme Paint package.
It's the Ross $14.99 Summer Dress Spectacular.
I got it at Ross. Do you love it? Ooh, I love it. I got it at Ross.
Ross has the hottest fashions for summer. Save up to 70%. Only $14.99. Only at Ross.
Do you love it? Ooh, I love it. I got it at Ross.
The $14.99 Summer Dress Spectacular. This week at Ross.
Finally, you can drive what you've always dreamed about, the Aurora V8. If this engine can power the Indy race cars, imagine how you'll feel on a test drive. Isn't it time you drove your dream car? For a limited time, you can lease the Aurora for just $3.99 a month. See your Oldsmobile retailer. The power behind Indy.
You're watching a special edition of NBC6 News, Tornado Touchdown.
A powerful tornado cuts a path right through downtown Miami. Welcome back to a special edition of NBC6. Roland Stedham is telling us that just moments ago, an urgent has come down on the wires that I understand activity is heating up.
Actually, it's my own observation what I'm seeing out there right now on the Doppler radar, Tony and Jennifer. We still have a very powerful line of thunderstorms right now that just is flaring up from South Miami down through Kendall and right here just to the west of Homestead. This is something that has just popped up here in the last 20 minutes. Now you notice what's happening up here to the west. Now this is Dade County right here. Let's go ahead and zoom out. Let me show you. There's Broward County, there's Dade County. Look at how this line of thunderstorms all of a sudden just intensifies, which is an indication that the atmosphere continues to be very, very unstable. And now if you look out here to the west, there's Broward County. Look at what's happening. Once again, very strong thunderstorms out here right along Alligator Alley. These thunderstorms do not appear to be weakening. They do not appear to be wanting to go to bed for the night, as sometimes they do. Once the sun begins to set, they begin to weaken. That is not the case, so we need to be very vigilant right here in Broward County, also in South and Central Dade County. These thunderstorms are not severe in nature right now, but they may turn severe in nature just from 1 minute to the next, so we'll continue to watch it very closely. Tony and Jennifer.
Roland, thank you. And it's also getting tough out at the airport tonight.
Oh, it played a major role today. In fact, rescue crews were rushed to the scene as the plane landed from Boston, an American Airlines plane with some injured passengers. NBC6 anchor Willard Shepard is at MIA. How is the weather out there now, Willard?
Yeah, Tony, let me show you this right here. We saw Roland give us the radar picture. You can see out to the west here some of those thunderstorms and the clouds that he was talking about. Still a problem out here tonight as we pan further to the east, and you see the dark sky here at Miami International Airport. So weather still a factor out here this evening, and it was a factor, of course, earlier today. Let me show you a video of a plane that came in from Boston, an American Airlines airplane, an A300 Airbus that had about 150 people on board. They hit some severe turbulence when they were in a holding pattern up at about 16,000 feet. Now, here's what people on the airplane told us.
We were just told by the captain that we're on a whole pattern because there's some bad weather ahead. And about a couple of minutes later, it felt like we ran into a rock. And all of a sudden,
the plane is dropped, so and I don't know nothing. That's all.
A lot of people, particularly some of the flight attendants who were not prepared, they just went flying.
Were they serving meals at the time, or what was going on?
No, they were through serving meals. In fact, we were like maybe 20 to 25 minutes out of Miami.
And here's another live look of the thunderstorms that are in the area this evening. Of course, this weather has been a problem all day. I can tell you from my flying experiences, this weather, that's what you want to stay out of, but they did get caught in it today. 2 passengers on the plane were injured, and 5 flight attendants who were walking around at the time were also taken to the hospital. Tony and Jennifer, back to you.
All right, Willard, thank you.
And now we're going to turn it over to Alfred Sanchez, who is basically from the Red Cross. He's going to talk to us about what the situation is now. You just moved the shelter, right?
That's correct.
How many people do you have that are actually looking for help in the shelter?
Well, we have 20 to 25 right now at the shelter. We're expecting anywhere in excess of 50 to 75 folks. About 50 families have been affected, so we're really gearing up for a fairly extensive tornado operation.
And how long will they be able to stay there?
Well, we'll be open as long as it needs, these folks need services. So right now we're thinking 3 days. It could be more.
All right, we have an address and a phone number for anyone who knows someone who needs help from the Red Cross or themselves can hear us on the radio or have access to a television. This is the address, West Flagler Park. It's the Baptist Church, right, Alfred?
That's right, the West Flagler Baptist Church.
5911 West Flagler Street. The number there you saw, 644-1200. The Red Cross was mobilized immediately. Certainly lessons learned maybe from Andrew.
Exactly. We also had a tornado occasion in last January in Kendall, so we were there in 5 minutes. I think it took us a little longer. We were there about 20 minutes this time. But we had 2 emergency response vehicles on the scene very quickly. Have damage assessment teams out there. So we'll be working on this the rest of the week.
Alfred Sanchez of the Red Cross, thank you very much.
Can I ask you one thing before? If people are going, do they need to bring anything, like a pillow or a blanket, or will you have everything there for them?
We'll have cots and food and meals, but anything that you need to bring, medications, pillows, any personal effects that are going to make your life more comfortable there is great.
Okay, Alfred Sanchez, thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
On
I'm saddened to announce the indictment of 5 police officers.
On the streets of the city,
There can't be that much money around without dirty cops.
the law
You took money from Holland's biggest dealer.
is always compromised.
Cops decided my client was going to be executed.
Maybe there's a way of exercising some damage control.
You think I don't know what's going on?
If their lips are moving, they're lying.
From legendary director Sidney Lumet, Night Falls on Manhattan, rated R, starts Friday, May 16th in theaters everywhere.
I can see clearly now the Beacon Way. No glasses or contact lenses anymore.
Imagine life without glasses or contact lenses. It can happen with Laser PRK, the Beacon Way.
My vision's restored through laser PRK. Natural sight feels so right.
Call 1-800-PRK today to schedule a free consultation and learn why more people are choosing Beacon.
It's time for the Jeep National Sales Event. And what event would be complete without the usual smiling faces? Cool refreshments, colorful decorations, and of course, great values. Like this $239 a month lease on the new Jeep Cherokee, 4x4 of the year Jeep Wrangler, or lease Jeep Grand Cherokee for $329 a month. It's at the Jeep National Sales Event, going on now with all the usual fanfare, not to mention a few balloons. Check out a Jeep at your dealer.
Well, tonight, a special health report that could help save someone you love.
Anna Fenyo knew what to do when her father had a heart attack, and she ended up saving his life. Do you think you could do the same? Would you even know what to do?
Press the doll's key.
This little machine could actually be the key. It could take you right through an emergency and show you some simple steps that could make you a lifesaver. Tonight, health specialist Ileana Bravo will show you how to do it when vital seconds count. A very special health report coming up at 11 o'clock.
And a reminder, we will be here, as well as Roland and the entire Storm Center crew will be here throughout the entire evening. We will break into coverage if we have any information to give you on this heated weather as it continues to move towards South Florida.
That's right. Good night, everyone, and we'll see you in a little while.
Every time I look at my house, I'm reminded of just how great Sawgrass Mills really is. March '94, JCPenney outlet saved a bundle. June '95, bought one, got the other one free. 9 West outlet, 9 West outlet, 9 West outlet, off 5th, Saks Fifth Avenue outlet. I have no idea. When I look back to those 200 wonderful stores and all the great deals, I think, if there were no Sawgrass Mills, I'd be a little upset. Don't miss Disney's Character Premiere Store. Have you been to Sawgrass Mills this month?
National School of Technology will train you for a rewarding career as a medical assistant. Work alongside physicians in private practices, hospitals, and other healthcare facilities, assisting in a variety of clinical and administrative situations. Day and evening classes are available, so call National School of Technology now to start your career in the secure and prestigious field of medical assisting.
National School of Technology, a sure thing in an unsure world.
NBC tonight, all new all-star bloopers. The biggest blockbuster movies, the biggest shows.
You're popping out.
All new Show Me the Bloopers, NBC tonight. Then,
They took an adventure to the top of the world, and it became their worst nightmare.
We're gonna die, aren't we? The death toll stands at 19.
To get home,
Are you abandoning us?
they must find the courage to survive.
We won't leave you to die on this mountain.
Inspired by a true story, Survival on the Mountain, tonight on NBC.
Now, only on Extra, the secrets about Marcia Clark you won't read in her new book.
She's just cold and heartless.
Ex-husband number 2 on Marcia's fame and fortune.
I don't see that spirit that she used to have.
Ex-husband number 1 on domestic violence.
Did you argue? You didn't hit her. Did you hit her?
Plus, the romance with Darden and the mystery musician. Only Extra has the men of Marcia Clark. Run for cover. A tornado touches down in Miami. Trees toppled, panicked drivers, and it's all caught on tape. You've heard the allegations. Farrah Fawcett accused of stealing the clothes of another actress.
Farrah
does not say she's 100% innocent of these charges.
So what is she saying? In an extra exclusive, the man who made Charlie's Angel reveals what happened inside this house, plus what the accuser wanted to let Fawcett off the hook. Nobody disses Dennis Rodman except the ex.
He can dish it out, but he can't take it.
Exclusive, the Rodman's free-for-all taped live on radio.
If it wasn't for me, she wouldn't be writing a book.
You know what? It's payback now. You may have won the battles, but I won the war.
Plus, the controversial plastic surgery attracting thousands of Asian women. And is Cindy Crawford a Tyra Banks copycat? It's Monday, May 12th, 1997, and Mother Nature's fury is coming your way on Extra.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Extra. I'm Libby Weaver.
And I'm Brad Good. Thanks for joining us. It was sudden, swift, and without warning. A tornado rocked Miami, and it was all captured on camera. The ominous funnel cloud swept through downtown Miami with 120-mile-an-hour winds. From a dark gray sky, the white tornado touched down, swirling debris into the tropical air. This incredible video was captured by an amateur.
You're watching WTVJ, NBC 6, where the news comes first.